Brazil's private pension industry grew 10% last year, with premiums now worth 21 billion reais. With the public pension deficit at 50 billion reais, there's a big gap in pension provision that the private sector can capitalise on. I'm now with Alfredo Lalia, CEO of HSBC Insurance Brasil. Alfredo, what has been the driving force behind Brazil's private pension industry?
The main reason to growth is when the inflation finished in Brazil in the beginning of 90s, people start to think in much more long term, and this helped the industry to convince people to prepare for the retirement. So it's much more common now to think in a long term than it was in the 80s when you have a hyperinflation period in Brazil.
Is the public concerned about the large gap in public finances I mentioned?
Yes, in fact, in Brazil and in any country of the world, people know that the government can provide the same level of benefit that you are used to have. So people is much more concerned that he should start to do your own plans to the retirement.
Now, you commissioned a study recently in which 2/3 of your Brazilian respondents said that they had never saved for their retirement. Why do you think this is the case?
Basically, you discover that people is concerned about the retirement, but there is other short-term project that is not allowing people to comply with all the plans. So basically, you have a huge space to work in the financial education and show to the people that you have short, medium, and long-term project, and the long-term should be starting the beginning of the professional life.
But your study also found that Brazilians do understand the need to save for their retirement. So is it a question of financial education, or is it a more serious wage issue?
It's a combination of both. In fact, as you have this long-term inflation period, people doesn't have this culture of long-term planning. People say, no, should I buy a new iPhone? Should I change my car, or should I keep my pension plan? So the consumption is a challenge, and how you convince or how you explain to the people that you can have both. You can have the short-term pleasure, and you need to guarantee the long-term pleasure, that is the retirement plans.
And so what is your message to the people of Brazil?
You should be real in the retirement needs and the retirement ambitions. There is any formulaic approach. Each person has a different view about the future, and you'll be a different level of expenses in the future. So you need to build your own future needs. The second one is to start as early as possible. So if you start early, even if it's 1%, 2%, 3% of the income, but is constantly is important. The third one, you need to understand your incomes, your expenses, and create a strong plan. And this includes not only you, but you, your family, your children. You need to create this budget that say, no, this is what you can save for the future, and you need to make choices about the expenses that you need to cut or keep. The fourth step is you always need to remind that each plan is a long-term plan. It's a type of marathon, and can happen some different things that you are not planning. So the plan is not perfect, so you can rebuild your future plans. And finally, know that you can have some specialists to help. So as you go to a doctor when you have a health problem, probably the best option is go to a financial planner when you are building this budget for the future. So let's go to the specialist as you go to a doctor. This is an important message.